today we are doing rational exponents. You do need notebook paper, so copy down these two problems on the screen. These are two review problems. Number 1, x to the third times x to the fifth. Number 2, x to the fifth divided by x to the sixth. For problem number 1, when you are multiplying and the bases are the same, you keep the same base, and when you're multiplying, what do you do with the exponents? Add them. So 3 plus 5 is 8. So the answer for problem 1 is x to the 8th. Problem number 2, when you're dividing, what do you do with the exponents? Subtract them. So where's the larger exponent, in the top or in the bottom? Bottom. So that means my answer for x will go in the bottom. And when you're dividing, what do you do with those exponents? Subtract. So 6 minus 5 is 1. Do I have to put the first power with that x? No. But what do I put up top? A 1. So the answer is 1 over x. Okay, copy down problems 3 and 4. So for problem 3, we have x to the 9th divided by x to the 4th. Problem 4, inside the parentheses is x squared y cubed. And outside the parentheses is being raised to the 5th power. 3 and 4. This is unit 7, not unit 7, this is unit 5, day 7. Problem number 3, when you're dividing and the bases are the same, what do you do with the exponents? Subtract them. So first you have to decide where's the larger exponent, in the top or in the bottom? Top. So your answer for x goes in the top. And since we're dividing, we'll subtract those exponents. So 9 minus 4 is 5. What do I put in the bottom? A 1. So x to the 5th divided by 1. The answer is just x to the 5th. Number 4, what is this called when you have the exponent outside the parentheses? This is power to a power. So if it's power to a power, what do I do with these exponents? Multiply. So for the x's, what's 2 times 5? 10. And for the y's, what is 3 times 5? 15. So if it's power to a power, you need to multiply the exponents. Okay, next section. Now we're getting into the new part for today, which is the rational exponent. Now what it means to be a rational exponent, it means that you are going to have some base to a fractional exponent. So you'll have some base to a fractional exponent. Now the top number is the power. So it's the power that it's being raised to. The bottom number is the root. And over here, this number is the base. So x is the base, a is the power, b is the root. If you think about a tree, here's my tree. Where are the roots to a tree? At the bottom. The roots to a tree are going to be down here at the bottom. So that's how you can keep it straight. So the root is going to be the bottom number of the fraction. So the bottom number tells you the root. So now, when we take this rational exponent, we're just going to rearrange the numbers. So they tell us in the instructions, and go ahead and copy down those instructions. That way you'll know how to do it on the assignment. So the instructions say, write each expression in radical form. Write each expression in radical form. And copy down problem 5. We have 16 to the 1/4 power. Now that's a rational exponent because notice the exponent is a fraction or ratio. So to rewrite it, you need to first put your radical symbol. So go ahead and draw a radical sign. Now the 16 is going to go under your radical. So 16 under the radical. Now the bottom number, this 4 right here, tells me what root to take. So that means over here I need to show that this is the 4th root of 16. Now the top number is the power. So this radical needs to be raised to the 1st power. So when you rewrite a rational exponent in radical form, I should see all 3 numbers from the problem inside your answer. So there's my 16, there's the 4, there's the 1. So that's one way you can write it. Another way you can write it is still put the 16 and put the 4th root, but instead of using the parentheses and putting the 1 outside the parentheses, you can put the power right here. So either one of those are correct. So you may see them both ways on your assignment as well as on the notes today. So both ways are correct. So it doesn't matter which way you write it. Okay, number 6. Write it down. We have 64 to the 1/3 power. Oh, nobody asked me, is that it? That's it. That's all we had to do. That's it. That's all it said to do. Write it in radical form. So is our answer written as a radical? Yes. So you don't have to go any further with it. You don't have to simplify it. So that's the answer. So this is the answer. Let me box it in so it looks official. That's the answer. It's radical form. Okay, number 6. We have 64 to the 1/3 power. We have to write it in radical form. So go ahead and write your radical symbol. The 64 goes under it. And what root are we taking? The 3rd root. Now, the power we're going to raise it to is the 1st power. So you can do the parentheses, or you can just put the 1 right here. Either way, it doesn't matter. I'll just put it like that because it's less to write. That's the answer. Is this in radical form? Do I see all 3 of these numbers? Yeah, there's my 64, there's the 3, there's the 1. Okay, I want you to do 7 and 8. Problem 7 is 8 to the 2/3 power. Number 8 is 4 to the 5/2 power. So go ahead and do problem 7 and 8. Number 7, write your radical symbol. What number goes under it? 8. What root are we taking? The 3rd root. What power do we raise it to? The 2nd. That's the answer. Number 8. What number goes under the radical? 4. What root are we taking? 2nd. So do I actually have to put the 2 here? No, it's understood to be the 2nd root. So if it's a square root, you don't have to put the 2 there. If you did, that's fine, but you don't have to. And then the power I raise it to is the 5th power. Now, go ahead and copy down this next set of instructions so you know how to do it on the assignment. And this is the last lengthy set of instructions. So it says, write each expression using rational exponents. Write each expression using rational exponents. Write each expression using rational exponents. Then problem number 9, we have the 4th root. And under the 4th root, we have 7 cubed. Yeah, so now it's just reversed. So now they're giving us a radical form. Now we have to write it in rational form. Not rational form, but as a rational exponent, which means we have to have the base, we have to have the power, and we have to have the root. So for number 9, what's the base going to be? 7. What's the power going to be? 3. What's the root going to be? 4. So the answer is 7 to the 3/4 power. That's it. We're just rewriting it as a rational exponent. Number 10, we have a cube root of 10 in parentheses, and it's raised to the 9th power. So when we rewrite it, what is the base? 10. What is the power? 9. And the root is 3. Now, we're going to leave it like this because in your answer, I want to see all 3 numbers from the problem in your answer. So I can see the 10, I can see the 9, I can see the 3. I do know this simplifies. What is 9 divided by 3? 3. And then 10 to the 3rd power is going to be 1,000. But did they say to simplify? No, they just said to write it as a rational exponent. So in a few minutes, we will be simplifying those. So here, just write it as a rational exponent, and all 3 numbers in the problem is what I want to see in your answer. Okay, you do 11 and 12. So problem 11, we have the cube root of 11 to the 6th power. Number 12, it's the 5th root of 4 in the parentheses to the 3rd power. So write both of those as rational exponents. Number 11, what's the base? 11. What's the power? 6. What's the root? 3. Now, this does simplify, but we're not simplifying. I want to see all 3 of these numbers in your answer. Number 12, what's the base? 4. What's the power? 3. What's the root? 5. So 4 to the 3/5 power. Now, make sure your exponent is up in the air. Make sure it's not written like this. Are these the same? No, this means 4 to the 3/5 power. This means 4 and 3/5. So that is the wrong way to write it. So make sure your exponent is in the air, not to the side of the number. Okay, now, for this set of instructions, you can just put simplify. It says simplify completely, but simplify is fine enough. Then copy down problem 13. 25 to the 3/5 times 25 to the 2/5. 25 to the 3/5 times 25 to the 2/5. What operation are we doing there? Multiplying. So when you're multiplying and the bases are the same, keep the same base. And when you're multiplying, what do you do with the exponents? Add them. So we need to add 3/5 plus 2/5. And what's 3/5 plus 2/5? 5/5. The denominator stays the same. Add your numerators. And 5 divided by 5 is 1. Do I have to put the first power? No, so what's the answer? Just 25. Why is there what? Why is there a 5 at the bottom? Because when you are adding fractions and you have a common denominator, the denominator stays the same. The only thing that changes is the numerator. What if it's not common? Then you'd have to get a common denominator. But for us, these will have common denominators. Number 14, we have 36 to the 3/8 times 36 to the 1/8. So 36 to the 3/8 times 36 to the 1/8. Today they will, yes. Okay, number 14. We're multiplying and the bases are the same, so keep the base the same. If you try to multiply 36 times 36, it's going to be a huge number, so don't do it. The base stays the same. Now for the exponents, when you're multiplying, what do you do with the exponents? Add them. So I need to add 3/8 plus 1/8. So the denominator stays the same. Add your numerators together. 3 plus 1 is 4, but 4/8 simplifies to 1/2. So this is 36 to the 1/2 power. Now this is my biggest advice to you. If you're in the simplify section on the assignment and you have a rational exponent, you need to convert it to radical form. So if I convert this to radical form, go ahead and write your radical. What number goes under the radical? 36. What root are we taking? The second root, so do I have to put a 2? No. And what's the power? First, do I have to put the 1 right here? No. Well, it's just square root of 36, but that simplifies, and the square root of 36 is 6. So your answer is 6. So most of the time, these will simplify to just one number. So if you have more than one number in your problem, you probably need to simplify some more. So if it's a rational exponent, convert it to radical form. Okay, 15 and 16. Now we are dividing. So 15, for the numerator, we have a to the 1/3. And the denominator, we have 8 to the 2/3. So 8 to the 1/3 up top, 8 to the 2/3 on bottom. Now, when you're dividing, you really need to look and decide where's the larger exponent, in the top or in the bottom? Bottom. 2/3 is bigger than 1/3. You agree? Yeah, so when we write our answer, the 8 is going to go in the bottom, in the denominator. And when you're dividing, what do you do with this? When you're dividing, what do you do with the exponents? Subtract. So we need to do 2/3 minus 1/3. And what's 2/3 minus 1/3? 1/3. So this is 8 to the 1/3 power. And what do I put at the top? A 1. Is that simplified completely? No. So if it's a rational exponent, convert it to radical form. So anytime you have a rational exponent, convert it to radical form. So what number goes under the radical? 8. What root are we taking? The third root. What power do I raise it to? Do I have to put the first power? No. Is that answer simplified completely? No, because I told you most of the time it will simplify to just one number. So take the cube root of 8, and what's the cube root of 8? 2. So 1 in the top, 2 in the bottom. 1/2 is the answer. So now my answer is just down to one number only. Number 16. 5 to the 9/4 in the numerator, 5 to the 1/4 in the denominator. So 5 to the 9/4 and 5 to the 1/4. And when you're dividing, look to see where's the larger exponent. So where's the larger exponent, top or bottom? Top. So this time the answer for 5 will go in the top. And when you're dividing, what do you do with those exponents? Subtract. So we need to do 9/4 minus 1/4, and that gives me 8/4. And what does 8/4 equal? 8 divided by 4 is 2. So this is actually 5 squared up top. And what do I put on the bottom? A 1. Well, what is 5 squared? So this is 25 over 1. And what's 25 divided by 1? 25. So now my answer is just one number, 25. So if you don't have one number only, keep going. You're not finished. Oops, whoops, oops. Hit the button too many times. There we go. There's 17. I want you to do 17. 27 to the 1/3 power. 27 to the 1/3 power. Number 17, my hint to you. If it's a rational exponent, what do you have to do with it? Change it to a radical. So write your radical symbol. What number goes under it? 27. What root are you taking? Third root. What power do you raise it to? First. Do I put a 1? Do I have to? No. Is that my answer? No. Simplify that. What's the cube root of 27? 3. Just one number. That's my answer. 3. Number 18, inside the parentheses is 4 squared. 4 squared is being raised to the 1/2 power. So 4 squared, raise it to the 1/2 power. What is this called when you have an exponent outside the parentheses? Power to a power. So if it's power to a power, what do I do with those exponents? Multiply them. So keep the base the same. So keep the 4. And we need to multiply 2 times 1/2. If I make this 2 over 1, what will happen with these 2's? They cancel, and what do I have left? A 1. So what's the answer? 4. I'm down to one number, so that's my answer. The answer is just 4. If you want to check in the calculator, go for it. No, because this was 2 times 1/2. And what's half of 2? 1. So that's where the 1 came from. Okay, number 19. We have 8 to the 2/3 raised to the 1/2 power. 8 to the 2/3 to the 1/2 power. Now again, this is power to a power. So if it's power to a power, what do you do with the exponents? Multiply them. So when I multiply them, what happens with those 2's? Those cancel, so this is just 8 to what power? 1/3. Is that simplified? Do I just have one number there? No, so I have to keep going. So if it's a rational exponent, what do I do with it? Change it to a radical. So what number goes under the radical? 8. What root am I taking? Third root. What power do I raise it to? The first. Do I have to put the first power? No. What's the cube root of 8? 2. One number. There's my answer. Okay, you do problem 20. We'll check your answers in just a moment. So you do problem 20. Power to a power. What do I do with these exponents? Multiply. And what happens with the 2's? They cancel. So this is 125 to what power? The 1/3 power. If it's a rational exponent, what should you do with it? Change it to radical form. So what number goes under the radical? 125. What root are we taking? 3rd root. What power do we raise it to? The 1st. Now what's the cube root of 125? 5. There's my one number answer. Okay, the last 3 are equations, and we just have to solve them. So copy down problem 21. Inside the parentheses, we have x plus 6. The parentheses are raised to the 1/2 power, and it equals 3. Now, what you need to do, if you have a rational exponent, what should you do with a rational exponent? Change it to radical form. So under the radical, this is the entire base. So your x plus 6 needs to go under the radical. That's the base, x plus 6, what's inside the parentheses. What root are we taking? 2nd root. Do I have to put the 2 right here? No. What power do I raise it to? The 1st power. Do I have to put the 1? No. So it's just square root of x plus 6 equals 3. Now this looks like one of the regular radical equations from last week. X is under a square root. How do I get rid of a square root? Square it. So if you square the left side, square the right side. And what happens when you square a square root? They cancel, so what's left on the left side? X plus 6. The 3 needs to be squared, and 3 squared is 9. Subtract 6 to both sides, and 9 minus 6 is 3. So it looks complicated, but it's not. So if you see a rational exponent, convert to radical form. What did I do to the 1/2? We converted to radical form. So x plus 6 was my base. It came right here. The 2 is the root. So here's my square root, 2nd root. The power is 1. Do I have to put the 1st power? No. So we just converted to radical form. Okay, 22. X plus 5 in the parentheses is raised to the 1/3 power. It equals 3. Again, if you see a rational exponent, what should you do as a rational exponent? Change it to radical form. So what goes under my radical? X plus 5. What root are we taking? The 3rd root, so I have to put the 3 there. What power do I raise it to? 1st. Do I have to put the 1st power? No. And this equals 3. So x is under a cube root. So how do I get rid of a cube root? Cube it. So cube the left side, cube the right side. And what happens when you cube a cube root? Cancels out. So that gives us x plus 5. And what is 3 to the 3rd power? 27. Subtract 5 to both sides. And what do we get? X equals 22. One last problem. This one is for you. So I want you to solve this final equation. And for the final equation, inside the parentheses is 3x minus 1. It's being raised to the 1/5 power. It equals 2. Solve this one. We'll check your answers in a minute. How do you get rid of a rational exponent? Change it to radical form. So write your radical symbol. What goes under the radical symbol? 3x minus 1. What root are we taking? The fifth root. And what power do we raise it to? The first power. And this equals 2. So right now x is under a fifth root. So how do I get rid of a fifth root? Not square it. Not fifth it. Raise it to the fifth power. We don't have any shortcut. We just have to say raise it to the fifth power. So what happens when you fifth power a fifth root? It goes away. So bring down your 3x minus 1. And what is 2 to the fifth power? 32. Add 1 to both sides. 32 plus 1, 33. Divide both sides by 3, and x equals 11. Now, you don't have to have notebook paper for your assignment. You can put everything on the worksheet. So no notebook paper for the homework. Just put everything on the worksheet.